Hey everyone, welcome. Here we are. So I want to just connect with you, and we're just talking about productivity hacking, unleashing your creative genius. Yeah, believe it or not, within all of us, we have creative genius. I think we're all weird. We're all interesting. We're all unique. We're all creative. We just forget how to be that way, because when we're born, we we're so imaginative. There's so much imagination. It's endless, and we're actually in an altered state because we haven't actually created these other parts of our psyche that can create perspective in terms of timelines. So there's a passage of time that is actually creating an illusion as children. So as we become more familiar with time and space, growing into adulthood, we start to think that we know more than we do. And the amount of things in the universe that we haven't discovered, there's so much out there. So beginner mind, zen mind is key, but thinking about that in a way where how can I break down the walls of the things that I think are true that actually aren't. um, and so productivity hacking and unleashing your creative genius is all tied into this. And what I think is really cool is taking time to create space, right? Taking time to create that space for ourselves, because what really happens is boredom is very scarce these days, and I think it is such a it's such an important, potent part of our experience that we don't get the opportunity to dive into as much lately because we have the internet, so many distractions, so much stimulation. How many of us are actually taking that time to walk in nature, hang out, sit with the sun, watch a sunset? Um, some people go in the shower and they have music blaring, or they're always listening to a podcast, and it's constant input. So it's interesting to think about that and to ponder, how can I have more output? Because if there's all this input and there's no output, then we're kind of festering up and we're not able to actualize the creative ideas that we have within. So, with that said, what opportunities are we creating for space in our life? What opportunities are we creating to have those eureka moments, those epiphanies? Because they're going to come when we least expect it. Walking in nature, hearing a bird song might inspire an entire song within our own practice. So, whether we have a morning meditation, we have a long salt bath at the end of the day, I think some of the most creative, strangest ideas have come to me in these times when they're least expected. So, I think canvas of the divine is silence. How can we create more opportunities for this to emerge? And so, with this, you can compress decades into days of your creative journey. So, we want to activate that system and use it and practice it daily. And that will allow us to access these flow states. And it will affect your energy, and you'll feel different in your body. So, the important thing is, how can we master the practice, right? Because it's easy to think and talk about these things, but how much of us are actually doing it? How many of us are actually doing it, right? So developing a routine where you can create that space. Now think about it. In music, without silence, it would be very odd, right? Without space or time, it would be very odd, because it would just be a bunch of sound and a bunch of notes and rhythms all hitting at the same exact time, and then we'd be done. Uh, it's sort of like if you were to look at a painting, but all of the colors were put into one point, and you're like, oh, I kind of get this, but I don't really understand. The space and the time is all creating an experience. And so we get to orchestrate our days like that. We get to orchestrate our life like that. And that's really empowering, because then we can sit and remember that even though I'm not doing and I'm just being right now, that is insanely productive, not only for my well-being, but more for my creativity. Woo! I'm feeling a little under the weather the past few days. I'm just coming out of it, so pardon me if my nose is a little bit stuffy. This stuff is so interesting to me, though. So what we can do is we can use pomodoros. Have you ever heard of pomodoros? we practice in 25-minute sprints, and then we take 5-minute breaks. So we go from doing to being. And it's scientifically proven, there's neurological studies that have been done that show that at the entry point of every study session, we retain more information. So in that sense, we create more entry points along the way so that we can retain more data. Even muscle memory through the myelin sheath from the brain to the fingers. We're able to practice and we're able to play music by increasing the frequency that specific exercise is engaged with. We're able to reaffirm that pathway. And so if I'm learning a new riff, I might practice at 100 beats per minute, and then I might do something completely different and then return back to that activity and run that pathway. So it's very interesting to kind of work this way, and you can have an accelerated learning experience, learning more in less time by doing some of these hacks, which I include in my PDF here, my practice routine hacks. So finding that sacred space, having a time and space regimen where you're able to allow the divine or some universal energy beyond yourself, which is your creative genius, to emerge, right? It's like this faucet. How would you love to have your creative genius on tap, right? What would it feel like to have your creative genius on tap? I mean, would you love to look like one of these people? I'm still working on it, but I think that there's a lot there. If we're tapped in, we are tapped in the power station, and that's where all the information comes in. So, and then it's what you do with it. How quickly can you actualize it, right? So it's a process. Creativity is an elusive, but also a thing that we can master. So taking time to create space within our days. Music without space or time is a mess, right? It's chaos. It's all tension. Music being the combination of tension and release. Allowing music, you can get away with a huge amount of density by applying space, right? So there's a lot of new artists, there's a lot of old artists, there's a lot of music that has been created, and the way that they get away with so much a magnitude of harmony and density is by creating space. And space is like push, pull, like tension, release. And so we're creating that with our days, we're creating that with our life, creating more opportunities for that creative genius to come through or from within, however you're imagining it, and to allow it to emerge, encapsulate it, and preserve the uniqueness of those visions. Because it will be easy to say, oh, I can just plug this into a very quick 4/4 rhythm, or sounds like this other song, why don't I just go with that direction? I think it's really powerful to preserve the innateness of the vision, of the download, of whatever you're receiving from your creative genius, and to try and apply it and create something specifically from that sound, or specifically from whatever you're seeing. So you're like, oh, maybe there's a visual stimulation coming through. You're saying, oh, I'm seeing this sort of painting. It's of the body, but there's all these energetic auras, but each one of those auras might have a different flavor. And we're saying, well, we can't really have flavors happen with painting, so we're gonna have to throw that idea out. But what if we were able to apply flavor in a way that might be different, a different color palette, a different way of accentuating those colors, or even having a scented painting. We got to think outside the box, people. Stuff has already been done, so what's the next level? Where are we going next? And so those are my little ideas for today. I just felt like dropping in with y'all. Have a beautiful day. Create experiences for yourself of space, spaciousness, and silence, because silence is the canvas of the divine, and it's going to allow you to hear your creative genius that's been bubbling up all along. So have a great one, enjoy, and ride those waves and shine bright, baby.